Jade Cargill has returned and goes straight for Naomi. Does that tell us the full story? We'll find out and we'll talk about it even more. This is Wrestle Extra. Yo. This is a Wrestle Extra. I'm your boy, A Dazzle, joined by my tag team partner, of course, the man that is Gerard Bonner. Say his name, he will appear. The Professor, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. You know, it's kind of wild because we're back. We took a little bit of a break, so we are officially back here in 2025. And 1 week without a show, there's a lot to talk about. 2 months, yeah, we got some ground to cover, people. But it's good to be back. Official Happy New Year to all the people we haven't seen in this particular space. And I'm excited to be back with you, A Dazzle. Another year of great conversation for Wrestle Extra across all things Black Wrestling Alliance. And that's where we are officially on YouTube. Is that right?
We are. Yes, we are now in the new home. New home of Black Wrestling Alliance YouTube channel. And don't worry, guys. No, there's not been a split. We've not done a Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods to Mex.
No.
That is not what's happening. Of course, during our break, we've all had our own little things going on, different ventures, different things we're attached to and stuff like that. And Mex has, decided that maybe it's time now for me to kind of take the reins in terms of promoting the show or presenting the show, should I say, on my own channel. I believe, the going back to when me and Mex actually started this, one of the biggest things I wanted to do was kind of help him with his platform. And this is why we had this show, as much as it's the BWA show, it was on the Wrestlemania UK YouTube channel. And of course, that's promoted him in a beautiful way. He's gone on not just from this show alone, but obviously from work in his own hard work, gone on to do so many different things and involved in so many things. So, he said, maybe it's time that maybe I should kind of bring it back home, and go from there. So don't worry, Biggie, or should I say Big Mex, is still part of the crew.
Yes.
But we will see him. Hopefully, we will see him every now and again in the near future. But we still are massive supporters and fans of each other, and let's keep on following each other's journeys and promoting each other. Yeah. But let's get into it. We're talking about us three. We're talking about the New Day, but the show is about a different three. I guess previously now known as the Big Three. Of course, that being Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi. We saw at Elimination Chamber this past Saturday, Jade Cargill made her return. She was attacked, of course, just before, was it Survivor Series?
Yes.
Just before Survivor Series. There's been a mystery going on for the past, 2 or 3 months, wondering who it was. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez's name were thrown into the mix. There's been all sorts of rumors and, people doing their own Sherlock Holmes investigations, playing Columbo and all the rest of it, wondering whether it was Naomi, Bianca, Nia Jax, so many different people. But Jade finally made a return and came straight for Naomi. My big question for you, Gerard, and a question that's been on the socials, on the internet, amongst the wrestling community, is, does this indicate, is this hook, line, and sinker now that it was Naomi that attacked Jade, or could there be so much more into this?
On the surface, it would look like it, but I don't think that's what this is at all. There were some interesting things that happened during Elimination Chamber, and I don't know if people picked up on some of the nuances. So, for instance, if you'll notice, when both Naomi and Bianca Belair came out, they were wearing all white. And when Jade came out, she was wearing all black. That's a big thing. Here's another thing, and we'll probably get into this later on in the Elimination Chamber when The Rock comes out. He's wearing all black. I think there was a very clear indicator given to kind of determine good guy, bad guy, the purity of wearing all white, the darkness or evil in wearing all black. With that said, it now makes you wonder, did Jade go after Naomi because she's blaming Naomi for the attack? Or did Jade go after Naomi for Naomi taking her spot? I think it's because she took her spot. Think about it. Jade is out. And so in times past, it usually means we get new tag team champions. But Naomi steps up to do what Jade didn't do. And so now Naomi and Bianca are now going down to NXT. They're going to all the places. You know, they're now the super bosom buddies. And so Jade isn't liking that. And I understand. You got to sit back and watch on the sidelines. Here's the thing. I don't know that Jade knows who attacked her. Because if you got attacked from behind, how do you know? I mean, maybe your eyes were open when you were down on the car and you're looking up and maybe you can see. But if your head hits the back of the windshield, I don't know that you're looking up to see who did that. You know, so I think it's still a mystery until we get footage or somebody saying who did it. You know, Naomi, I think, caught a stray. And I think she caught a stray because she stepped in to be the new best friend. And Jade didn't like that anymore. I think Jade is okay with Naomi not having championship gold. Naomi was the only one of the big three during that big three run that didn't have gold. But now you're sitting in this space where Jade Cargill is the odd woman out. She doesn't know anything about that. She's not about that life. So she comes in. It's the first time we've seen her in all black. She didn't come out smiling. She didn't come out talking about there's a storm brewing. None of that. She came out ready to hurt somebody. And the way she went after her, that's not even how a good guy goes after their opponent. That there was malice. There was malicious intent involved. I mean, she took the door of the Elimination Chamber, not the pod, the door, and slammed it. That's not something that's done by a good guy. I'm sorry, that is not. So I think we're seeing Jade Cargill maybe tap into who she was in AEW all that time, because she had a post that went out and she said, "I'm that B." The same thing she was saying over in AEW.
Very
so
true.
I think people are calling Naomi the turncoat. It looks to me like Jade is actually the turncoat.
I was thinking the same thing too, because, you know, as you said, you know, using the door to, you know, slam into Naomi's head. Again, the video that she posted the next day on X and on her socials. Well done to Ricky Stark for directing that as well, because that piece was phenomenal. It was beautiful in how it was done, with the whole Venom thing, Carnage, all of that kind of, you know, those subtle innuendos and stuff like that as well. But yeah, for me, it feels as though it's going to be Jade who's going to be the heel in all of this. But how we get to that is going to be interesting, because obviously she was the one that was attacked. So, you know, naturally you feel sympathy for her. So how we get to that point of it being she becomes the heel, I think in a way it has to be, you know, that Jade's upset Naomi took her spot. And maybe it was someone else that attacked her. The other thing that's been going on, you're very big on your nuances and the Easter eggs and the very small details. There was one thing that was shared on the net where it showed when Bianca was in the pod. Obviously, she came out in her entrance with this nice fluffy jacket, whatever else. As soon as Naomi comes out, Jade came out. Bianca took the jacket off, almost to indicate maybe that she was ready for Jade to come for her, possibly. Possibly. Now, obviously, of course, for a long time, you know, the Naomi and Bianca's name has been synonymous with who possibly attacked Jade.
Yeah.
But in the very early iteration of this whole thing, we spoke about, you know, this whole scenario, and one of the things that I believe it was yourself that was explaining that if it is one of these two, why? How do we explain it? How do we make sense of it?
Right.
Obviously, we saw the footage of Jade, the aftermath of her attack during a Bianca match, in a way that kind of tells us it possibly wasn't her, but then there's still the possibility it could have been her, but they just found her so many minutes later. You know, how do we make sense of either Naomi or Bianca wanting to attack Jade? Can we actually make sense of that?
Here's what's interesting. If there is sense to be made of it, then this is where I wish Mex was around, because Mex always talks about character development with Bianca and wanting to see other layers of her. What we saw Saturday night was a Bianca like we've never seen before. I mean, she was just distraught, absolutely distraught, inconsolable about her two friends fighting, and she's trapped in a chamber and can't do anything about it.
Right.
You know,
right.
And then to be able to go from there and win the Elimination Chamber. And now she's not really I won't say not caring, but her focus is on WrestleMania. She doesn't have the tag titles. She can do that. So she didn't have to attack Jade to get there, because she made it into the Elimination Chamber situation, initially qualifying as a tag team champion. So there's no benefit to a Bianca Belair in attacking Jade. Bianca was already established. You could make the argument that there's no benefit to Naomi in attacking Jade, with the exception of Naomi becomes a tag team champion, her first set of gold since coming back to WWE a whole year ago, which is wild when you think about that. So I don't know how it could be either of them, because there's not really a story. Again, the closest thing you could have is for Naomi to be slightly jealous and then step in as the new tag team champion. That's really the only thing that could remotely make sense to me in terms of them attacking Jade. Now, here's something none of us have ever talked about. What if Jade staged this whole thing as an excuse to not play nice with either of them? Remember, Jade Cargill doesn't play well with others. For those who forgot her AEW career, remember, first she was a loner, then she had the baddies, but ended up getting rid of pretty much all of them. You know, Kiera Hogan, Layla Gray, all of them were gone by the time it was said and done. And she was just that B, right? So what if she staged her own attack? It's not impossible. We saw it happen in NXT with Eddie Thorpe. He staged his own attack so he can get a shot at the NXT championship. Jade Cargill could have been tired of playing nice. And so she could have been tired of playing nice, puts herself, now that seems extreme, but no, not really. Because if you want to break out of a situation bad enough, you'll do whatever is necessary. There are people who have, you know, caused harm to themselves just to get out of a situation. We've seen people stage their own killing and stage their own kidnapping and stage. We've seen it happen. It is not an impossibility that Jade Cargill jumped from a loading dock onto a car, just laid there. Because you mean to tell me all the cameras around and nobody saw this? We could see people walking away and walking around, but nobody pushing her off, nobody shoving her off. How would Jade, nobody's asked these questions. How did Jade Cargill get to the end of a loading dock in the first place with nobody around her? Why would she just be standing at the loading dock and we're all imagining how this is happening. Somebody pushed her off. I can't imagine somebody tussling with her and she loses. So I don't think somebody dragged Jade Cargill and threw her.
No.
So how did Jade? You didn't. How are you going to do that?
Who could? It's Jade.
Who could? So I think we're looking at a situation where Jade Cargill could have actually staged her own beatdown.
Wow. And I think that would be the perfect way for then her to be the heel.
Exactly. Because I was tired of sitting in the shadow of Naomi and Bianca. Think about it. I've been compared to Bianca my entire career. Right. And then the night I debut, here comes Naomi as well. Wait a minute. I want to be that girl. So I'll play nice. I'll get my first WrestleMania. I'll partner with you three. But y'all know I'm not here for this. I'm too big to be in a tag team. So I stage my own demise. It's not Charlotte, because Charlotte's already got her shot. Everybody was thinking it's Charlotte. Charlotte's already in the two main people folks thought did it. Charlotte and Bianca have both punched their tickets to championship matches at WrestleMania. So where does this leave Jade? And Jade comes back on a warpath. Jade staged her own attack.
And remember as well, in all of her singles attempts in the, I think it was the King of the Ring. I can't remember if she was she a part of the
U.S. title tournament?
The U.S. title tournament. She didn't get anywhere.
No.
So maybe it's time for her to do her own thing, and this is the way to do it. That is interesting. I've not even seen anyone even attempt to say that could be a possibility. Yeah. And it's very true. It could be, because with no evidence, no videos, nothing. It opens the door to her doing it to herself. And there's ways to stage things. I mean, it could have been makeup, maybe. It could have been all sorts. Probably she didn't actually hurt herself.
No.
But it could be makeup and whatnot. Because
how long was she laying there before somebody found her?
Interesting. Going on to Bianca, of course, we saw her win the Elimination Chamber. Now going to WrestleMania, we saw the shocking outcome of the Women's Championship match last night on Raw. Iyo Sky beating Rhea Ripley, with Bianca, on the side watching. Rhea losing focus. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Unless it was Liv Morgan on the outside. Rhea losing her focus and getting distracted by Bianca, who was doing nothing, and then obviously losing the match. How do we think that in any way this whole thing with Jade has any part to play in the next few weeks leading up to Bianca getting to WrestleMania, or will it be completely separate?
I think there's still a lot to unpack with this whole Jade situation and whether or not it leads its way to Bianca. I will say, interesting thought. It could stay quiet until WrestleMania. When I say stay quiet, meaning we don't see them interact at all. But then Jade costs Bianca the world title, starting that war that we've been waiting for. And why that would be significant, it would be Bianca's first loss at WrestleMania.
Yep, for sure.
So I think if it comes to a head, it comes to a head at WrestleMania, furthering the narrative of Jade just being completely evil, not needing anybody, not wanting anybody. And if you cost Bianca on the biggest stage there is, we got a fight on our hands.
And I feel the same way as well. Like, I don't feel as though, there may be very minor interactions, possibly a mention here and there, possibly some type of match between Jade and Naomi, in terms of Naomi getting some level of revenge or wanting to get some revenge. If that happens, if they have a match, Jade comes out on top. And then I believe as well that Jade will cost Bianca that match in some way, or attack her. If Bianca wins, Jade attacks her straight away. And then and it's also a way for her to go after a women's championship, a singles championship, for the first time, in a one-on-one situation, of course. So I also believe that Jade has a part to play in the match itself. Not before, maybe, like I said, maybe make a mention, maybe suggest something, but we won't see any action between the two of them until that night, which makes it all very interesting. In terms of that specific match, Bianca going against Iyo Sky, I also believe that there's a strong possibility now of that match being a triple threat.
I think so too. Yeah, I was, as I was watching Raw, I thought to myself, there's no way that Rhea Ripley is not in the women's title picture. Like, there's no way. I just don't see how that could happen. She's gonna do a rematch. And maybe even if they do, Bianca and Iyo on Saturday, and then the winner gets Rhea on Sunday, there's some way that Rhea has to be involved in the world title picture. She's been the most dominant female on the roster. So that's and she's been surrounding the world championship at a WrestleMania for like the last 3 years. So it just makes sense that Rhea is somehow involved. How we get there, we got 7 weeks. So there's a lot of ways to land there. The challenge with that is all 3 of them deserve to win at WrestleMania. So I don't know who ends up walking out as the champion in that scenario, but yeah, I definitely see Rhea Ripley involved in the championship picture in 7 weeks.
Would it feel pointless for Iyo Sky to have won last night and then lose the championship at Mania?
I think it would feel pointless, but then I also thought it felt pointless for Rhea to lose last night after just winning barely 2 months ago. So it's an interesting time right now. And this is the beauty of having so many incredible women in that women's division on Monday Night Raw, where all of them could be, all 3 of those that we're talking about now could be credible champions fighting at WrestleMania. So yeah, it's not, I will tell you, I was shocked. I think we all thought after Elimination Chamber, we're finally getting Bianca and Rhea at WrestleMania. It seemed like a foregone conclusion. Bianca versus Iyo is a problem. It is a problem. We remember we've seen it before. To see it at WrestleMania, they're gonna cook. They're gonna cook. So how Rhea gets involved in that, if it turns into a triple threat, if it turns into a 2-night situation, I'm here for it either way.
I think it would be interesting, as you said, either way, however it goes down. Again, I feel that you would need to have Rhea involved because I can't see how she's involved in Mania any other way. Possibilities. We've got 7 weeks, as you mentioned. Anything could happen. Hopefully, we don't see her and Liv again. But there are still so many different things that can happen. But I think for me, it might actually be the best scenario that we get the 3 of them. We'll get a mixture of different stuff, 3 different styles from the 3 of them to make a very memorable WrestleMania match, in my opinion, if it goes down as a triple threat. That's going to be very, very interesting. Moving along the conversation, but of course, all roads lead to WrestleMania right now. And I said roads on purpose. Don't excuse the pun. It was there for a reason. Of course, the big, massive shocker that shocked the world at Elimination Chamber was John Cena turning heel, attacking Cody Rhodes, selling his soul, even as the WWE on their website have coined it already as well, selling his soul to The Rock. How did you feel watching that play out? Did you watch it at the moment it happened? How did it feel to see John Cena turn on Cody Rhodes?
So I wasn't able to watch it exactly live. So naturally, that means you turn off every notification you've ever had. Right. And I did.
Same.
And so when I did watch it, and there were a couple people, true story, I had 80 80 text messages Saturday night about this.
Wow.
And I was like, I will not read one of them. I will not. My phone went crazy. So I was like, I don't know what's happening. So when I finally got to watch it, it was incredible how it played out. It was incredible. Here's what's remarkable to me. We get the birth of the final boss during All Things Bloodline. And the Bloodline has had us in a chokehold since 2020. And so every time we get around to WrestleMania, it's surrounding Roman Reigns, the Bloodline, something. Last year, Roman Reigns, The Rock. And we were all convinced that The Rock was not involved in WrestleMania this year. I mean, we were literally convinced, going all the way back to the Raw and Netflix debut, when it felt like he erased everything that happened with Cody in the last year, calling him my brother, my friend, only for us to get duped again, right? We got duped again. And so here's what's incredible to me. That the Elimination Chamber, whether we realized it or not, was bookended by stories involving Black people. It started with Jade Cargill. Completely interrupting all things Elimination Chamber. It ends with The Rock.
And Travis Scott.
And Travis Scott, right? Travis Scott. God bless. The Dennis Rodman of the WWE. That's Travis Scott for you. Let me tell you, this Rock thing turned a lot darker than I expected. When it started, a couple of weeks ago, and he said to Cody, I want you to be my champion. I think nobody knew what to do with that. Then he said, I want your soul. And we were like, whoa. And to see him not say a whole lot. Now, this is just remarkable. The Rock is known for these 30-minute promos that we just know and love. This is the quietest The Rock has ever been. He came out there. He said, you're going to, come to me. I'll embrace you as my brother. You'll give me your soul, and we'll do all of the things. And if not, the dream dies. And for everybody who's been waiting for WWE to take that Attitude Era-esque turn since they went to Netflix, it happened Saturday night. We heard an F-bomb that was not bleeped out. We had Michael Cole cussing on commentary. I mean, we had all these things. But for The Rock to be the one to orchestrate the heel turn of John Cena that we've been waiting for 20 years.
20 years.
It was mind-boggling. And so it's incredible to see The Rock now give us a main event story for WrestleMania that has no connection to the bloodline. That is remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. How deep does this go? When did the conversation happen between him and Cena? How long have they been planning this out? Let me also say this. For those who have had bad things to say about the acting ability of The Rock in movies, of John Cena in movies, they hooked us both. They hooked us both significantly. And that plays a major role in what we saw Saturday night. So I think it was a huge, massive moment for WWE. I mean, you probably have to go back to Hulk Hogan joining the NWO for a moment that was as significant in wrestling history. So John Cena wins the Elimination Chamber. John Cena is the last thing we see alongside The Rock. It's a major moment. And I'll just put it out there. I think with The Rock in his corner, The Rock leads John Cena to his 17th World Championship at WrestleMania. I
definitely believe so. What's interesting about, this time last year, and the lead up to WrestleMania last year, is that there was something that happened that just blew our minds. And then we started asking the question, how long have they actually been planning this? How long was this the actual plan? You know, all this kind of stuff. Because remember, you know, before it all went down last year, we had The Rock come out and give the talk of, oh, he wants to sit at the head of the table. So we all thought Rock versus Roman Reigns. And maybe that was the original plan, possibly. It changed at some point, and then we got what we got, but then we were still then asking the question, wait, how long have they actually been planning this? It's interesting now that when The Rock came out after Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns tagged together, defeated the Bloodline, The Rock comes out and does the hands with the three. But then when you look at it again, it's the same sign that John Cena throws up with the three fingers. So was that the significance at the time? Because when we first saw the three, we were thinking, oh, triple threat match.
Yeah.
But now, go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's go one deeper, because you just said something that nobody figured out until this moment. It didn't even click for me. Back January 1st last year, when The Rock comes out New Year's Day and tells everybody, you know, when I go to dinner, where do I sit? Maybe I want to sit at the head of the table. We all thought he was talking about Roman Reigns.
Right.
However, he is the head. He's the chair of the board of directors of TKO, the true head of the table.
Right.
Maybe he foresaw all of this a year ago, and we were none the wiser. This has been the play the whole time. And that's the piece we weren't prepared for. Are we prepared? I'm going to elicit a name I'm not supposed to elicit, but are we prepared for a more evil boss than Vince McMahon? That's what the final boss is giving us right now. Think about this. Think about this. We've not had this kind of authority figure in the WWE since Vince McMahon. Triple H just wouldn't do it. He just wouldn't do it. And so we've been away from that for long enough to where when you bring it in this way, it feels different because we're dealing with Vince McMahon isn't there. Vince was never a wrestler. Vince was never beloved.
Right.
But now you're talking about The Rock, who no matter when you play his music, people love him. But give him a few minutes. And who would have ever thought that The Rock and John Cena, two of the most beloved members of the WWE family historically, would be on the same side against Cody Rhodes?
Right.
This is incredible. This is incredible.
It's phenomenal. It is, you know, we talk about the final boss, you know, obviously the final boss being this evil boss. It's very movie, comic book-esque, you know what I mean? Almost like a Lex Luthor type of situation. Cody Rhodes being the Superman. You know, you can argue John Cena, of course, he's played the Peacemaker, but he could be the Homelander type of guy. You know what I mean? We're all waiting for Cody Rhodes to be Homelander. But it could be John Cena.
It could be John Cena.
And of course, going back to the whole, you know, build up to where we are and how it all kind of came about, you know, even John Cena kind of showed his level of desperation.
Yes.
In his final run, especially after the Royal Rumble. In his press conference, he said, best for business. Yes. Very corporate-like. He's in his final run. He wants to win the 17th championship. He has, you know, we see so many people. Let's talk about Cody Rhodes, for example. We've seen Cody Rhodes' desperation in terms of finishing the story.
Yeah. But
the difference with Cody Rhodes and John Cena is time wasn't necessarily against Cody Rhodes.
Right.
He still had time. He was just desperate to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas John Cena, time is against him. He's set a date for when he's retiring. He has less than 12 months to do this now. It's 9 months maybe now to do this.
Right.
Time's against him. He is more desperate to win the 70th championship than Cody Rhodes was to finish his story.
Correct.
If Cody Rhodes never won at WrestleMania last year, he would still have this year.
Right.
So it shows how desperate John Cena is, and for him to be as desperate as he is to just do anything he can in order to get to where he needs to get to and finish his own story of winning that 17th championship. So this all makes complete sense. It all makes complete sense in how it's happening, why it's happening, who it's happening with in terms of it being The Rock. The only part that kind of doesn't make sense is Travis Scott, but we are where we are.
I don't think that'll be a regular part of the equation. At least I
not at all. I doubt it. I doubt it very much. I doubt it very much. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what the next 7 weeks brings. And I think WWE again have made a genius move in having The Rock involved in the lead up to Mania, because at the end of the day, you know, when we really look at it, he was the main figure in terms of, you know, all the sellouts that they had in the lead up to WrestleMania, in terms of the live shows, Raw, SmackDown, and all the arenas that they went to, sold out for 13 weeks straight, I believe it was on all shows. So, you know, it's going to be super. Did I disappear? Did I just disappear there?
Yeah, but you're back. You're good.
It's going to be super interesting to see just how we're good. It's going to be super interesting to see just how it all plays out and what the next few weeks brings in the run up to WrestleMania. In between that time, again, we're moving the conversation along. In between that time, we do have Roadblock, NXT show. I love the fact that now NXT shows it's not NXT Roadblock, it's WWE Roadblock. Just so people understand that little detail. But of course, the dream match that we've been waiting for at least a year or so, Moose versus Obafemi, and it's for the NXT Championship. First question: should this have been at Stand and Deliver?
You know, I've been shocked. I will tell you. I feel like the NXT, the WWE Roadblock card looks like what I had penciled in for Stand and Deliver. All the way around. I mean, from Fraxium and the Hardys, Julia and Stephanie Vacour, that whole card. And I think it's because of the Madison Square Garden situation, where because they're in New York, because they're doing the theater at Madison Square Garden, let's stack this. So I'm sitting here trying to go, what do you do for Stand and Deliver? Because to me, all of this was Stand and Deliver. So I don't know where they go. I'm imagining that maybe you know, if you end up in a no contest for Oba and Moose, that at Stand and Deliver, you run it back and you do title for title. You know, that's my thought. I will say this. Moose looked amazing on NXT television. I mean, I know there was talk that he was trying to avoid going into NXT. He just wanted to go to Raw or SmackDown. He had that opportunity to sign that contract with WWE and chose not to and stayed with TNA. And I'm going to do TNA for life, you know, all that type of stuff. But let me tell you something. Seeing him in that ring against Lexis King, he pulled out stuff that he didn't pull out in TNA. And I'm like, you're flipping off the top rope, Moose? What are we doing? Moose understands the assignment. Moose knows that this is where he belongs. And so to finally see this match happening next week, it's going to be insane. But to answer your question, I don't know what they're going to do for Stand and Deliver, because this feels like Stand and Deliver, at least what I had penciled in for it.
Right. I think there's an element of it, and I'm just thinking as you were talking, I think there's an element of it as well that even with what happened at Elimination Chamber, so we were expecting Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens to go down at WrestleMania.
Totally.
But of course, they were in Toronto. It makes sense for the two Canadians, the biggest names you know, in Canadian wrestling today,
right.
to do it in Canada, it makes sense. But then, what do either of them do come WrestleMania? Okay, Kevin Owens, it might be Owens and Orton, possible.
Right.
But we were expecting Owens and Zayn at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think there's an element of that, as you mentioned, you know, with it being at Madison Square Garden.
Mm-hmm.
You wanna stack the card a little bit and all that kind of stuff. And it worries a little bit in terms of what then happens at Stand and Deliver.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I'm not a fan of the two ladies going against each other, champion versus champion. It feels way too early. It was almost like there was no real reason for it to be like this for now. Right. I'm hoping in some way there's a no contest. Maybe Jordan Grace gets involved in some fashion, or someone else, possibly Roxanne. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that one there. But everything else, it's going to be interesting. Going back to Moose in NXT, was it probably about 3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, that he had the chance, or we were expecting him to sign with WWE?
Right.
It actually makes sense that he didn't at that time, because the WWE looked very different then.
Oh, for sure.
It looked very different then. You know, TNA was back on the up with Scott D'Amore, you know, heading things and all the rest of it as well. So it actually did make sense. As much as I was disappointed by the decision, it actually did make sense at the time. Whereas now, Moose, I'm sure, is reevaluating his life choices, because we've seen what happened with Jordan Grace. She's now there, you know, officially. Right. But even in that run-up, the few appearances that she had, Joe Hendry turning up at the Royal Rumble as well. A couple months ago, or last month even. Moose is now thinking, oh, actually, maybe. Maybe. Things at TNA have completely changed. You know, Scott D'Amore's not there anymore. Moose is still very much a relevant and top guy, of course, in TNA. But, you know, what happens from there? What more can he actually do? He's won everything now. What is left for him to do? And I don't know what that is. I don't know where he goes from here in TNA. Apart from moving away and doing things in NXT. So I think it's perfect that he's got some kind of space now to where he's doing something in TNA and going up against the biggest guy that he could possibly go against in Obafemi. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think Gerard has disappeared. I'm not sure, unless it's me that's gone AWOL. Here we are.
There we go.
Here we are. Here we go. It's okay. It's all good. I was just saying, like, with Moose, he's still a top guy. In TNA, but he's done everything now. He's won everything. He's done everything. Right. What left is there for him to do, in a very similar way that Jordan Grace found herself. You know, she's won the Knockouts Championship, I think it was 3 times by then. Right. Or she was on her 3rd run as a Knockouts champion. Took on everyone, beat everyone. I think Moose is in a very similar place. But he comes into NXT straight away at the top. If that does not entice him by the end of this year, or whenever if his contract's up this year, or if he gets some kind of offer, or there's some kind of talk or about the future, if that does not entice him to want to be in NXT and even think to himself he doesn't even have to be on the main roster straight away, that doesn't do it, I don't know what will. And I think it's very, very important for Moose to kind of make that move. I think it's going to be very stagnant in TNA now. And even for him, I think that the whole relationship between TNA and NXT has come at a very perfect time for a lot of guys. For a lot of people, especially more so in TNA than in NXT. But in your opinion, in general, you know, we saw the collaboration start about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we all got excited. We started creating dream matches in our minds, and we saw Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry turn up and a couple of guys go to TNA.
Mm-hmm.
They've now announced it as a proper, you know, proper collaboration.
Yeah.
Do you feel as though anything's changed since that announcement?
I do. I think during the dating phase or the getting to know you phase, we only saw a certain tier of superstar show up. So from the TNA side, we got Jordan Grace, we got Joe Hendry.
Right.
From the NXT side, the top tier of that we saw was like Wesley because of the Rascals. But then from there, you know, no knock, but we saw like Izzy Dame.
Yep.
You know, we saw Brinley Reese, right? We didn't see what we're seeing now. I mean, we've seen Obafemi, the NXT champion, show up over on TNA. You know, we've seen Cora Jade show up over there. We've seen that top tier level in NXT show up at TNA. The flip side is we got Moose from TNA. We got the Hardys. So like all of the champions, Masha Slamovich shows up on television. So all of their champions, for the most part, are now showing up, which really solidifies this partnership. So it says to me that the partnership is serious. I know a lot of people are waiting for someone to win a championship, and that will solidify it. I think the fact that we're seeing the top tier stars show up, Fraxium, the tag champion, showing up on TNA and defending over there several times. You know, those are major moments that they had not tapped into last year. So I think we have the possibility now to see a championship change hands. I always thought it would probably happen at Stand and Deliver, but it could happen at Roadblock next week. You know, whichever of these championships chooses to change hands, it'll be a very, very big deal. And I just wonder, you know, who's the first to change hands? You know, will it be the NXT championship? I mean, if Moose beats Obafemi next week,
wow.
And after what we saw this past weekend and last night, nothing is off the table. Nothing's off the table. We can easily be shocked. We can shake up the world. We can have the people talking. Moose winning the NXT championship. Yeah, there's immediate cause for a rematch at Stand and Deliver. It'd be crazy.
True. Because if that happens, it would set up for title or winner takes all.
Yes.
At Stand and Deliver. Interesting indeed. For me, I believe Fraction will beat the Hardys and take that TNA Tag Team Championship. I honestly believe that's a very strong possibility.
Wow.
I believe it's a very strong possibility. We've also seen, WWE have actually trademarked the Fraxium name now, so it's not just an unofficial title; it's actually an official title. The match is only for the TNA Tag Team Championships as well.
Correct.
So I personally feel as though it would make sense, and the Hardys are in this space of obviously, you know, kind of putting others over and not necessarily feeling the need to have to be long-serving champions and all that kind of stuff. They've been TNA Tag Team Champions before. It's very much a friendly competition thing as well. It's not heel versus babyface. It's two favorites. You know what I mean? Just seeing who's the best, and I can see the Hardys being very willing to put Fraxium over. And not handing them the championships, but you know what I mean? Being able to, you know what I mean, put them over in the match and then walk away with two tag team championships. And then it solidifies as well this incredible, unexpected run of Fraxium as the NXT tag team champions. There has been so many times we thought, all right, it's going to end tonight. Oh, they're going to lose to, Out the Mud. They're going to lose to No Quarter Catch Crew. They're going to lose to the Gallus Boys. You know what I mean? We've seen so many times when we thought they're probably going to break up because someone hit someone, unfortunate.
Right.
But yet they're still champions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And their championship run, their matches, all of that has probably been one of the
Phenomenal.
most exciting things that we've seen by any tag team in NXT ever.
Agreed.
And we didn't expect it. A team that were just thrown together. You know what I mean? So I think this would help solidify that. Definitely. I can see it happening for sure. And I think I'm one of those people who's very much kind of like waiting for a someone from NXT to hold a TNA championship and vice versa, in order for me to feel as though it does solidify this partnership and this collaboration. So when it does happen, whoever it is, I'll be happy. Basically, I'll be happy
for sure.
I'll be very happy. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. Speaking of things changing and things stepping up, we, for so many weeks and so many months, we're talking about this guy every single week. and
I've been waiting for this.
And waiting for something to happen. I so wish Mex was here right now in this conversation. We have been waiting for so many weeks to make sense of Ricochet leaving WWE and going to AEW.
Yeah,
we saw little glimpses here and there in his first couple of matches. He went undefeated for a few matches. Yeah. Then it kind of just went a bit south, and we felt as though nothing was different. Yeah. Then he goes to the Continental Classic, loses his first two matches, and we were like, "All right, so what's the point in him being here?" Yeah. Then he goes on to get towards the semi-final, and we're like, "Oh, maybe." Then it kind of went south again. He gets involved in, it's just him and Ospreay all the time. We're like, okay, we've seen this 1,000 times. How many more times do we want to see it? But now, the Ricochet that we are seeing in this feud with Swerve, to where it is, to the character that is portraying, to the mic work he's delivering, to all of that. Just give me your opinion on how you see Ricochet now compared to the Ricochet that walked into AEW.
Oh, it's like night and day. It's like night and day. It is as though we have seen the caterpillar emerge from the cocoon and we're looking at a butterfly. And the thing about a butterfly is you can never, ever identify the caterpillar they once were.
Right.
This version of Ricochet is unrecognizable.
Just different.
Never in his career, going back to Lucha, never in his career can we say we've seen this version of Ricochet. And you can't deny it. It is charismatic. I mean, like, you love it. And so shout out to Swerve, because something about this feud is what has ignited this spark in Ricochet. And it seems as though maybe Ricochet knew it was always there, or maybe he didn't know, and he needed the right circumstance to make it okay for it to come out. I don't know why we didn't see this in the WWE. They certainly tried, but maybe it's because, one of the things that they say often in the wrestling business is one of the things that connects the most is when you are authentically yourself.
Right.
It's why Stone Cold Steve Austin connected and clicked when he hit WWE and stopped being the ringmaster and just decided to be himself. It's when Rocky Maivia became The Rock, when he decided to just be himself. And maybe what we've seen is Ricochet finally being himself, saying, I don't have to be cheered. You don't have to like me. I can still be that guy, and I can be annoying, and I can get under your skin, and I can be violent, and I can look good doing it. I mean, this is honestly an agile, hyper acrobatic, athletic Ric Flair. Think about it. Flair in the 80s and 90s was dressed to the nines. He'd come out looking like $1 million. He'd do something real evil that you couldn't stand him for, and then he'd tell you why you should like him. And Ricochet is very much giving us that. He always comes out in these 3-piece suits. He's got the cute glasses. He's got the annoying conversation. But not only can he flip but he can get violent now.
Yeah,
coming out with those scissors and knocking people in the head. And it's the edge that he always needed. And I don't know who's responsible for bringing that out, but whoever it was, thank you, because this is the Ricochet I think we always believed was hiding in there. And now the right set of circumstances has brought him out. And honestly, I think he's the guy we tune in for. I think on the women's side, we tune in to see Harley Cameron. And on the men's side, we tune in to see Ricochet. And it's amazing to see how he's managed to do that, because we were on this show week after week after week, and we couldn't find anything good about this move that Ricochet made. No. Not a single thing, except for the pyro he got when he debuted. That was the best thing we had for him. But now he'll show up for 2 minutes on our TV and we're locked in. So kudos to Ricochet. I don't know who unlocked it, but they did, and it's a great move.
For sure, for sure. For me, if I was to assume anything, I would say the fact that he's around a lot of the guys, and he even said this as well, it was one of the reasons why he decided that there was something for him in AEW. He's now around a lot of the guys that he grew up in the business with, or in that time when he became the man on the indies, when he was having matches against Swerve, when he was having matches against Ospreay, and so many other people you can mention who are there now. And I think for me as well, a lot of the traits that he's actually showing are actually very similar to Swerve.
Yes, they are.
Very, very similar to Swerve. So I would not be surprised if that's where it has come from.
Yeah.
A conversation with Swerve, possibly. Swerve saying, all right, let's take what you're dealing with right now. Because I know I've mentioned this on this show where, he gets talked about a lot for his interactions on the net and kind of, allowing people to get under his skin very quickly and responding and reacting, and stuff like that. And I'm like, dive into that, be that guy on TV. And that's exactly what he's doing now.
Yeah.
And he's working perfectly. He's working absolutely perfectly. And like you said, it's a completely different person. Yeah. We are now actually tuning into AEW to see Ricochet, to watch what he's going to do next, what he's going to say on the mic. He's no longer doing promos backstage. He's in the middle of the ring on his own, doing promos and all the rest of it. And looks very comfortable doing it, saying what he's saying. And it's so it's so good to see, so refreshing to see him doing that and being and looking comfortable. Whereas before, he just didn't look comfortable. It was almost like he was fighting himself, let alone the reactions of the crowd and what we would say before and what he would see on the internet and all that kind of stuff. He was literally fighting himself. Whereas now, he's in his bag. He's in his bag. It begs the question, though, also, that was it a missed opportunity that Ricochet wasn't made part of the Hurt Business? Because I think for me, this character with the Hurt Business, for me, would have been perfect. It would have made sense. It would have been a way to kind of bring that out. It almost feels as though him being rejected by the Hurt Business kind of almost doesn't make sense. Or you can make sense of it because maybe it's also what brought this out of him.
Sure.
But then, but I think I was going to say, but then it's unfortunate because I don't think it then allows him to then go against them, because obviously they're playing, the heels at the minute. He's a heel. Yeah. They can't then clash. So I'm not too sure. What do you think?
It's interesting. I think had he joined the Hurt Business, the Hurt Syndicate at this point.
Syndicate, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking you were referencing the WWE side because he was rejected over there too.
Yeah.
But I think he needed to be able to stand in the sun on his own. And I think he would have been overshadowed by MVP, by Lashley, by even Shelton Benjamin. And I think the fanfare they came in with would have absolutely overshadowed him. And he would have ended up kind of in that Cedric Alexander position in the Hurt Business, kind of as the young boy of sorts, which I think Ricochet, for this character to last, had to be on his own. We had to see that this was him, that he didn't have a mouthpiece, that he didn't have a heavy, that it was just him.
True.
And so, you know, to see him actually pin Swerve, you know, was wild. It was wild. And I was there that night when it happened, and the audience was like, whoa, you know, it was a major moment, a major step. And I think, you know, for Swerve to have been in the world championship picture and then to deal with Hangman, and then his next major opponent is Ricochet, says a lot about Ricochet and where they see him. So I think him not being part of the Hurt Business didn't hurt the Hurt Business or Hurt Syndicate, didn't hurt him at all. He needed to be able to stand in the sun on his own. And I think this worked for him.
And what's beautiful, what's amazing about their next match is, I believe it's a number one contenders match.
It is
for the AEW Championship
on a pay-per-view. How about that?
That's wild to me.
It is.
That's wild to me, because especially with everything that's been happening around the AEW Championship, around Jon Moxley and the Death Riders. It's Death Riders,
yes.
right?
Yes.
You know, you've had Hangman, you've had Orange Cassidy, you've had Jay White, you've still got Christian kind of lurking around.
Right.
How did we get to it being Ricochet and Swerve? I mean, I know obviously Jon Moxley's kind of defeated all the people that I've just mentioned, but at the same time, they're still feuding. You still got Colt as well. So it's like, how did we get them two in this space? And as you said, it just shows, you know, the investment now that AEW have in Ricochet and still in Swerve. Regardless of whether they end up winning the championship or not, I don't think that even matters. I don't expect whoever comes out on top, I don't expect them to defeat Moxley. I really don't, but it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't matter. It means that they have been pushed, or Ricochet at least has been pushed to the top echelon, whereas Swerve is still around and not dropped down the pecking order, so to speak. So I think that alone is phenomenal for the two of them, and it's going to be very interesting to see just what happens with that match. And the robe, of course, the Technicolor Dream coat, as I like to call it.
Yes,
it feels like that's significant in terms of, you know, how important it is. We've got a few minutes left. We've kind of gone over our time a little bit, but I want to give you. It's been 2 months, of course. We had so much more to talk about. We've cut so much out. But I want to give you the chance to give us your perspective. We have seen All Caribbean Wrestling debut their show, which is on a Tempo network across the Caribbean. In a few parts of the States, debut their weekly show, televised show, Saturday Night Vibe. I took a quick look at it earlier today. Very proud of everyone involved, how it went down. But of course, you as the Michael Cole of ACW,
crazy! Wow,
mad. It's mad.
Wow.
It's interesting to see, you know, to know your own perspective. Like, how has it been, one in the lead up, and then kind of seeing the finished product, and then also the reaction from different areas of the wrestling world?
Yeah, you know, it's been incredible having the opportunity to join All Caribbean back in 2023, and just to see how this company has moved from, you know, just visiting the islands and things of that nature to now a weekly television program. I don't know that people even understand how significant that is. It is not easy to get television space as a wrestling company. There are only a handful of wrestling companies that even have television space. So it puts All Caribbean Wrestling in a different part of the conversation now. And to consider that we get to serve a community, being the Caribbean, that is underserved when it comes to pro wrestling.
Massively.
There aren't other wrestling companies that are visiting the Caribbean in person, live and in living color. So to now create this opportunity for Saturday Night Vibe is incredible. Tempo Networks has been an amazing partner, and there's been a lot of work that has gone into it. Of course, we've not I don't think we've officially talked about it here, but our new CEO being Mark Henry, the world's strongest man, WWE Hall of Famer. That has been absolutely a massive moment for our company. And so to have all of these things lead in to the debut, Tempo Networks has been great. They have been giving great opportunities for a lot of our stars to interview live on Instagram. And, again, you think about it, we're covering 24 Caribbean islands with a reach of somewhere close to 3 million people.
Wild,
it's unreal. And so the response has been amazing. Again, shout out to our CEO, Mark Henry, our COO, JB Cool, our Director of Talent Relations, Justin King, who we're going to get on this show soon. It's amazing to see what has been put together. All of the talent for All Caribbean Wrestling, just amazing people, and they have been putting it out there. And so the debut episode took place this past Saturday on Tempo Networks. It was exciting. I think the fastest 30 minutes in pro wrestling. We got to hear from the longest reigning All Caribbean champion, that being the Pope, Elijah Burke, who kicked off the show. We found out about some new signees, that being Samurai Del Sol, formerly known as Kalisto, is a part of what we've got. We've got Trinidad, who made his return. Cassandra Golden, who I am very high on Cassandra Golden. She's going to be a real problem in the women's division for All Caribbean Wrestling. Of course, we got to see Chase Coleman, the son of Caprice Coleman. And of course, kind of the full circle moment with Caprice joining us on commentary. And for those who don't know, Caprice is who put in the good word for me to be a part of All Caribbean. And my first show was alongside Caprice in commentary. So just the beautiful full circle moment of us coming back together on commentary for that match on the debut. And then, of course, Kenny King, the KING, who has done great work in Ring of Honor and TNA, a part of All Caribbean. And he went to address what happened back in October to him, courtesy of one of our newest signees, Marty Skrull. And while he's in the process of that, he gets attacked by the outlandish one, Zicky Dice, who's now a part of All Caribbean. Listen, the people who are coming through to be a part of All Caribbean Wrestling, it's crazy. It is crazy. So good news, if you did not check out the premiere this past Saturday, if you are in the Caribbean, I do know that there will be replays of that show tonight and on Thursday. So you get to check us out in one of those time frames. Check your local listings there. But you can also download the All Caribbean mobile app, where you can check us out. There it is, the All Caribbean mobile app, where you can watch the brand new episode of Saturday Night Vibe right now. So you can check it out on Roku. You can check it out on Android. You can check it out on Apple. It's in all of those places. Download that, subscribe, and you can check out Saturday Night Vibe. And all of the PLEs that have happened and that will happen will all be available on the mobile app as well. So again, check out Saturday Night Vibe right now on All Caribbean Wrestling's mobile app. And then this Saturday, a brand new episode drops at 6 p.m. Eastern. So you can check that out. And we're leading into some other things that are happening, big things happening later this month in the Dominican Republic. And then we're heading out to WrestleMania weekend in April. So there's a lot happening connected to us. So I'm just so excited to be a part of what's happening with All Caribbean Wrestling. So again, download the mobile app, All Caribbean Wrestling, and you can check out Saturday Night Vibe right there on the mobile app. If you're not in the Caribbean, if you're in the Caribbean, check us out on Tempo Networks every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Phenomenal stuff, man. It is so good to kind of see, the full circle, to kind of be a part, see the journey of everyone involved. To be honest, you know, there are so many people who, whether they're wrestlers that I've followed from their early times to obviously knowing yourself personally, TK Trinidad, seeing the likes of, you know, Mark Henry involved, JB Cool. I've had, you know, previous workings with him, relationship with him and that as well. The Pope being one of the guys that I looked up to. You know, I always say this is one of my favorite guys because, you know, him and like say D'Lo Brown, for example, if I were to ever be a wrestler, like it would be a combination of those two together. Sure. And this is why, you know what I mean? I kind of, you know, look up to him and anything that he does as well. So to see everyone kind of come into a space and, you know, do as well as it is, and very much the early stage as well. It's very encouraging, and I'm excited to see what happens. And I'm actually liking the app. Sometimes you see new apps and you're just like, okay, but this has got enough substance. It's got enough going on. As you said, you know, previous stuff, the previous events and stuff like that. I started watching Baja Bash before we came on here. I'm like, I got to turn it off and come on here. Damn.
So much fun.
It looks like it was. It looks like it was for sure. So yeah, man, All Caribbean Wrestling. Check it out in every space that you can on the app, on their socials, YouTube, all sorts. It's going to be exciting, definitely. We have now come to the end of our time on here. Gerard, I'll let you do it this time. Tell the people all the places that they can find you and any other updates that you have on any other things that you're doing.
For sure. You can find me at Bonnerfied across all of the social spaces. As we mentioned, we've got great things happening with All Caribbean Wrestling. Again, every Saturday night for Saturday Night Vibes, 6 p.m. Eastern on Tempo Networks, and of course on the All Caribbean mobile app. And again, there on that app, you can check out the entire catalog of All Caribbean Wrestling, which you will want to do so you can get backstory on a lot of the wrestlers that you're going to be seeing every week on Saturday Night Vibe. Also, you can check me out with Ashe Wrestling. Of course, Ashe Wrestling TV, another great thing that has started in 2025 that you're able to check out on YouTube. We just finished our 4 weeks of Black History Month celebration, which was amazing. So you can go and check out all 7 episodes of Ashe Wrestling TV on the Ashe Wrestling YouTube channel. So check that out. Still, of course, working with the Nightmare Factory and Southern Honor Wrestling, which, by the way, this Friday, big show with Southern Honor, main event, Joe Black defending the SHW championship against Alex Kane. So that's going to be mind-blowing and bonkers this Friday night.
As Booker T would say, no bread, no water, just me.
So it's going to be amazing. There's so many great things happening in the wrestling world right now, and I'm excited to be a part of that. In addition, haven't had a chance to tell you guys, I've just launched my own podcast network. Yes. It's called the Bonnerfied Podcast Network. And so you kind of get to see another side of me. I've got a brand new podcast series called Bonnerfied Conversations, where I'm getting some of my friends, some of who you may know, some who you may not know, from all across the different spaces that I operate in. And we're just having some really strong conversations. And so you guys can check that out. And, we'll definitely add a wrestling podcast or two, hint, to the network. So some good things are coming. I'm really, really excited. So again, check it all out at Bonnerfied, and I'd love to hear what you guys are up to.
Amazing. Of course, guys, you can find me on the Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram. You can now make sure you are all subscribing to BWA on YouTube as well. This is where you will find us here every single week, WrstlXtra, and there are plans for more things to come as well. Trying to launch some new things, some very similar to as Gerard said, conversations with very specific people and stuff like that. I want to do some more talking to others and get more out of them on an individual one-to-one level as well. So that will be coming very soon, and other things as well. But guys, this has been our time. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again next time.